Sixers fans, how we feeling out there? Hey y'all, my name is Lauren Gordon. Some of you may already know me on social media as Lauren Fan of the Year. Others may have just stumbled upon this podcast, but either way, I want to first thank all of you for tuning in to Season 3, Episode 9 of my very first podcast. I'm just a Sixers fan, the Lauren Fan of the Year story. Now let's continue the story. Y'all, the time is now Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. I woke up early and drove 2.5 hours to Towson, Maryland to pay my respect to my high school friend, Chuck. Chuck was hands down the biggest Knicks fan I had ever met in my entire life. And when we were in high school, we always had this Sixers-Knicks rivalry whenever we got together. In the last episode, I had mentioned that I had received the shocking news that Chuck had passed away. I had to go to his memorial. Chuck had served in the military, so he laid in his casket in full uniform. This was my first time seeing Chuck in years. I looked at Chuck and I was like, damn, I can't believe you're gone. Now, it wasn't like I saw Chuck on a regular in person. Like I said, I hadn't seen him in years, but I knew that I would miss the banter between us with our love for our NBA teams, his passion for the New York Knicks, and my passion for the Philadelphia 76ers. And when we were in high school, this was something that I thought we would carry for forever, or at least until one of our teams won a championship. And now he was gone. I walked up, said a little prayer, then a simple rest in peace, Chuckster, and without even thinking, I said, go Sixers. Internally, I was like, come on, Lauren. And then I chuckled to myself. I could actually hear Chuck laughing too. It was so instinctual. I lifted my head, and to my right, I recognized his wife. Like I mentioned, I had never met her before. We weren't even connected on social media. But after hearing Chuck's passing, I did find her on Facebook and reached out to her. I was able to recognize her from her profile picture. She's a beautiful lady. I walked over to her, introduced myself, and gave her my deepest condolences. I told her, I'm sure you already know that Chuck is a great guy. I'm just grateful to call him my friend. I handed her a sympathy card, said a few words to his grieving family members, and then I left. I got back in my car and drove another 2.5 hours back home. I was glad I got the chance to say goodbye to my dear friend, Chuck. And no lie, y'all, to this day, anytime we play the New York Knicks, I can't help but to think of Chuck. The next day, March 16th, is Joel Embiid's birthday. That night was a road game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was also a Society 76 watch party at Parx Casino. I repped Embiid for his birthday by wearing my red number 21 jersey, and y'all know I always have a great time at these watch parties. There's food, there's drinks, there's socializing with other season ticket holders, there's raffles, even though I didn't win this time, but I did meet and got a photo with former Sixers Billy Owens. That night, Embiid played another great game with a 35-point, 17-rebound double-double. Tyrese Maxey had 25 points, James Harden 21 points, Tobias 19 points to help us get the win 118-114. The next day, on March 18th, James Harden was quoted as saying, quote, "We're going to get this shit right," end quote. I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. This was clearly a better team with James Harden. We just had to figure things out. And I believe that once the players knew their roles, we would be rock solid. I was thrilled and excited with the direction of this team. Also, around this time, Gina Edwards reached out to me on Facebook. She had been following me on social media and wanted to interview me on her new talk show, Talk and Ship. She was the talk show host and wanted to chat about my Sixers fandom. On March 19th, I drove out to her studio in New Jersey, and we had a one-on-one interview. No studio audience, just a cozy conversation about my love and passion for our Philadelphia 76ers. I shared my story about when it started, winning fan-sided Fan of the Year, traveling to the road games, and telling her about my opportunity to be a Sixers ambassador for Philly sports trips. Pretty much most of the stuff I've already shared with y'all in this podcast up to this point. Gina was a wonderful host who was genuinely happy for me, and she posted our interview to her social media page. I was extremely grateful for the exposure. Y'all know it's always fun for me to talk Sixers. The next night, March 20th, we had a home game against the Toronto Raptors. While walking through the concourse, I bumped into former Sixers coach Jimmy Lynam. He was now a co-host on NBC Sports Philadelphia for the pre- and post-game shows. He was on a quick break before having to go back on air, and I said, "Oh my goodness, it's Jimmy Lynam. Can I get a selfie?" He graciously said, "Yes. Can we do it real quick? I got to get back." I said, "Of course." I snapped a great picture of us. I told him how much I loved him and thanked him for his time. I thought, that was exciting. But y'all, that would be the only excitement that night, because even with Embiid's 21-point, 13-rebound double-double, we still lost to the Raptors 93-88. Oh well, at least we got a frosty freeze out when Scotty Barnes missed 2 consecutive free throws in the second half of the game. On March 21st, on a back-to-back night, we played the Miami Heat at home. Earlier that day, it was reported that Embiid and Harden were both out. I posted on Facebook, "It's game day. No Embiid, no Harden, no problem. Next man up. Let's go." My son LJ went with me to the game that night. I remember us walking through the concourse, and we ended up taking photos with a girl dressed as Wendy from the Wendy's fast food chain. She wore the iconic bright red braids, the apron dress, and she was handing out Wendy's coupons for free Frosties. That was fun. It was also a fun game because, y'all, that night, Tyrese Maxey stepped up like a boss with 28 points. I posted on Facebook, "Yo, Maxey is that dude." Even Furkan was hitting clutch threes, and I posted, "I told y'all to stop talking smack about my boy Furkan." See, around this time, y'all, a lot of fans were saying that Furkan wasn't that good. But Furkan was my guy. He was streaky. Sometimes he went cold. But y'all, when Furk was hot, he was hot. Korkmaz ended the game with 18 points. But y'all, Shake Milton had 20 points that night. Bang Bang George Niang had 15. And Tobias added 14 points to help us get the win over the Heat, 113-106, without our 2 best players, Joel Embiid and James Harden. Huge. Jimmy Butler played well that night, leading the Heat with 27 points. But like I said, y'all, Tyrese Maxey had 28 points, outscoring Jimmy Butler. I was so proud of our guys. We showed that we could beat a good team even without our 2 best players. The next day, I had to finish packing because I would be joining Philly Sports Trips on the Sixers' ultimate LA trip. I got a good night's sleep, woke up the next morning, and headed to the airport. I got there early, like I always do. I was comfortably wearing my Sixers shirt and sweatpants. As everyone got in line to board the plane, waiting for their zones to be called, a guy walked up and said, "You must be Lauren." I recognized the voice. Oh my God, Vince Rizzuto! He's the owner and brains behind Philly Sports Trips. We had first connected over the phone, so it was great to finally meet him in person. We chatted for a bit, and then he reminded me that we would meet up again at baggage claim after we landed. While on the plane, I had a middle seat. Ugh! But it turned out that no one sat in the aisle seat, so I was able to move over to give the Asian woman who had the window seat more room. She was younger than me and appeared professionally dressed in business attire. We hit it off immediately. Y'all, it honestly started when the flight attendant was handing out those little bags of cookies and pretzels. She nudged me and said, "Do you want mine?" My greedy self said, "Sure." I thanked her and smiled. She said, "Are you traveling for work?" I said, "Oh no, I'm going to the Lakers and Clippers game." Looking confused, she said, "Wait a minute. You're flying from Philadelphia to Los Angeles for a basketball game?" Blushing, I said, "Not just a basketball game, a Sixers game. I am a Sixers superfan." She laughed in disbelief and said, "Oh my goodness, this is awesome." She asked if I was traveling alone. I told her normally I do travel alone, but this time I was with a group. She told me her name was Tian Tian. I had to ask her to spell her name and repeat the pronunciation. Tian, Tian, Tian Tian. I said, "Oh, okay, Tian Tian, got it." Y'all, she had so many questions. How I became a Sixers fan, winning fan of the year, traveling to the road games, what my family thinks about all of this, and so on. I had questions for her too. She was a senior executive for a small company and self-admitted she was a workaholic. She said she was married with a young child at home and she never had time for herself or personal travel. And she even shared that her husband wasn't very supportive of her, and so on and so on. She admired my free spirit and spontaneity and zest for life. I told her, "Girl, this was not always my life." I shared that I was married for 25 years in a 30-year relationship that began when I was only 17 years old. I said, we had kids early on in our marriage. We had 4 kids, but we had 3 of those kids within 9 months, and that I had dedicated my entire life to my husband and kids. I added, my life didn't really begin until my kids were grown, and I had to put in the work to learn who I really was. I didn't really have any self-identity until I decided to separate and divorce. I reassured her that while raising kids, the time seems forever. But once they're grown, you realize it is just a blip on the life timeline. I told her to stay present and just be grateful for every moment and to find happiness even in the tough times. Tian Tian and I talked the entire flight. The conversation just flowed, never an awkward pause or anything. I wanted to learn about her as much as she wanted to learn about me. We took selfies together and giggled a lot during the long flight. And when we landed in LA, we exchanged phone numbers. We hugged and said goodbye. I met Vince and about 6 other people at baggage claim. I saw Tian Tian at a distance. We waved and yelled, "It was so nice to meet you!" and a final goodbye before going in our opposite directions. Over the next few years, whenever I traveled, I would text Tian Tian to share my adventures. She would always comment that she loved living vicariously through me. I haven't messaged Tian Tian in a few years. I hope she's doing well. Vince arranged for ground transportation to pick us up at the airport baggage claim and take us to the hotel. Everyone in the shuttle was really nice, and we were thrilled to be in sunny Los Angeles. We stayed at a very swanky hotel in downtown LA. We checked in, got settled, and had some downtime before having to meet up in the hotel lobby before the game. I toured the hotel just because I like to know where everything is, grabbed something to eat, took a nap, woke up, showered, and then got dressed. I wore my navy blue Spectrum Edition Tyrese Maxey #0 jersey before meeting everyone in the lobby. Together as a group, we walked to the Crypto Arena to see our Sixers play the Los Angeles Lakers. I was here, my 14th NBA arena. There was already a crowd forming, waiting for the doors to open. Outside were statues of Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I took selfies to capture the moment. The weather was perfect, high 80s, sunny, just beautiful. I'm so used to going on road trips by myself, y'all, that I have to admit it was different traveling with a group. Now, I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just that when traveling with a group, I like to make sure that everyone is good, everyone is included, everyone is accounted for. It's very motherly. Whereas when I'm traveling alone, I'm just in Lauren mood. Once we got inside the arena, I was still able to do my routine. I'm such a creature of habit. That includes walking the entire concourse, looking for photo ops, just taking it all in. I couldn't believe it. I was here. As a basketball fan, you couldn't help but to be in awe of the Los Angeles Lakers and their rich history. I'm talking going back to the days when they were playing in the Forum and the Staples Center. They had legendary players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Kobe and Shaq. Now they had LeBron James. They also had great coaches like Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, and they won championships on top of championships. I think they actually coined the three-peat term. Yes, I believe Pat Riley gets credit for that. And y'all, to see the championship banners and retired jersey numbers in the rafters was truly an experience. Very early on, I bonded with a guy named Mike Shander who was with the group. He was cool. Not everyone used Philly sports trips for their flights, hotel, and game tickets. Some people made other arrangements for their flights and or hotel. Some just got the game tickets through Vince and Philly sports trips. So there were a lot more people than like the 6 people that I had met in the shuttle coming from the airport. We had a nice little crew and we all sat together. Listen, we represented out there in them Laker streets because we cheered our Sixers to a 126-121 victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. Joel had another double-double, 30 points, 10 rebounds, and it was to the point, y'all, where we just expected nothing less from Embiid. James Harden had 24 points, Tyrese Maxey had 21 points, Tobias Harris had 20 points. On the Lakers side, I don't believe LeBron played that game, but Dwight Howard and Russell Westbrook both had 24 points apiece. Malik Monk had 23 points. But like I said, y'all, they were no match for our Philadelphia 76ers. After the game, we leave the arena. The weather was still nice. We stopped by a pub that was on our way back to the hotel. We had some cocktails. I was able to get my margarita. Our Philly Sports Trips group was bonding over our Sixers win. We ate appetizers. We sang along to the music playing over the speakers. I met a guy named Terrell who goes by Your Fave Trash Man on Instagram. He's a fascinating young man. It's his mission to clean up Philadelphia neighborhood streets. After hearing his story, I'm like, this man is doing God's work. He was cool, and he's well respected in Philly. And at the time, y'all, he had tens of thousands of followers. Impressive, right? He was like, how many followers do you have? And y'all, honestly, at the time, I think I probably had just reached like 1,000 followers. That's when I began to understand the influence of social media. We was feeling good walking back to the hotel. There was nothing on the Philly Sports Trip's agenda for the next day, so we had a free day. This worked out perfectly because I don't know if I mentioned this, but y'all, my Aunt Bessie lived in LA for most of her life. I would only see her every few years when she flew to Philly, but now I was in her neck of the woods. We were both excited when I told her that I would be traveling to LA. We planned to meet tomorrow, and I could not be more excited to see Aunt Bessie. I got ready for bed. I relived the entire day, just full of gratitude. I mean, to have this incredible opportunity to safely travel to Los Angeles, to attend a live Sixers-Lakers game on the road, noting my 14th NBA arena. I was also grateful for the incredible people that I've met along the way throughout the day. I was also grateful for my family who was back home, looking out for my fur baby, my Shih Tzu poodle Murphy, and looking out for my home while I was away. I looked to the heavens and mouthed the two simplest but most meaningful words: thank you. I made a Facebook post. Shout out to my family who love and support me. They encourage me to live my dreams. Thank y'all for holding things down while I'm away. Love y'all. Listen, there is nothing like having a loving, supportive family who encourages you to live your dreams. I proceeded to upload my photos and videos to social media and looked at the clock. It was already past midnight, but my body was still on 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Even though I took a nap earlier, I was still exhausted. I knew I needed to get a good night's sleep to prepare for a long and exciting day with Aunt Bess. Y'all, I snuggled down into that comforter, said, thank you, dear God, for this day. And before I knew it, I was knocked out. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And join me next time as we continue the story.